Good evening and welcome to Business Today on Channel I. On this program, we discuss about many insightful topics with individuals with a lot of experience in that relevant field. And today we have a guest to talk not about business but about the education side of things and how it contributes to the business world. Keep tuning in whilst we discuss business today. Today's guest is a lecturer, teacher trainer, early childhood educationist, as well as a speech and drama teacher. So to know about who this individual is, let's take a look at the character profile. Preneetha Zelnie Tissera is a lecturer, teacher trainer, early childhood educationist and speech and drama teacher. She has 35 years of experience both locally and internationally. She is the drama teacher at the Colombo International School, resident lecturer at Modern Montessori International UK, Sri Lanka branch, and the founder director Nature's Classroom Montessori Teacher Training Center. Preneetha has been providing the most up-to-date Montessori diploma and early childhood education from 2008 to date. She has also conducted CSR programs in teacher training workshops in rural areas of the country to empower teachers with hands-on teaching skills and best practices. She has obtained experience from the teacher training program in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, at the Sri Lankan International School in Riyadh, as well as the short training stints in Dubai and Maldives. She is also the founder-director of the Kids Cove Learning Station, an institution providing assistance and therapy for differently abled kids. As the founder-director of Nature's Classroom Montessori and Childcare, she has established an institution which provides a 360-degree solution to parents in early childhood education and childcare. Nature's Classroom Education consultants provide professional guidance in setting up Montessori and childcare facilities according to local and global standards. Mrs. Preneetha, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Prashant, and thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. Now, we all know that in order to progress in your career, it all starts from your foundation. So you have to have your foundation right. Now, when it comes to your foundation and how you started your career, tell us a bit about this.
Yes, so I was educated at Methodist College, Colombo 3, and then I did my higher studies there. And I had a passion for kids from a very young age. So my first mentor was my auntie, who was at that time in Badulla, and my parents were working there. And then I started in her Montessori school as just an apprentice. And then she inspired me to start the Montessori course and then progress from there. And then that's how my career happened. And over the years, fast track forward, here I am now at a level of consulting and providing early childhood education. And I love and I'm really passionate about what I do.
Okay. Tell me how you started off your career, like you mentioned, and really wanted to start your own thing. What made you decide to found Nature's Classroom?
So I was the resident lecturer for Modern Montessori International, and I learned a lot being under their management and in that institute. Being a UK-based institution, there was a lot of value that they added to early childhood education. And then I was contracted in Sri Lanka, and after my contracts were over, I was thinking, well, this is such a beautiful program, and it needs to go out and not only confined it to a certain group of people or a certain what you call a clientele as per se. So we thought, okay, let's do it in Sinhala, let's provide it and widen the horizons of actually tapping into the real Montessori education for everybody. So we broke it down to English and Sinhala, and that's where we established Nature's Classroom in 2008 with that idea of spreading the Montessori program across the board to the urban and rural areas. So that is where we come in, where we have worked in the rural areas, like I said. That's where Nature's Classroom began, but small beginnings, we've come a long way.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, it's obviously not an easy task to start off on your own and found an institution. And I'd like to know about how you took your experience as a teacher, as a lecturer, as an educator, and put in that experience to start your own institution.
Yeah. So it was a lot of experience, Prashant, in terms of all the places that I've worked at. Colombo International School, then Modern Montessori International, and various other places that I worked at short stints, which I have not mentioned here. So it gave me a lot of inspiration, it gave me a lot of experience and confidence to start up on my own. And most importantly, a lot of my students, the teacher students, actually pushed me to start something on my own. They said, you need to do something, we can spread this program across the board in this country, where lots of other teachers, lots of children, most importantly, the children of this country will benefit from what we do, the standards we maintain. So that's where the institution, firstly we set up the Montessori institution where teachers were trained. So I have trained over 1,000+ teachers so far. And across the country we've gone to different places because we are registered under the Ministry of Child Development and Women's Affairs. They have requested us to go and teach and train teachers and give them hands-on practice in handling materials and all of that, and that's where we started. Yeah.
Okay, now speaking about your short stints in Dubai and Maldives, was there something that you gained from there which you knew that you had to implement in Sri Lanka?
Yes, of course. There were so many. Best practices is something that we need to incorporate into Montessori education or early childhood education. That's something that I'm very focused on, and giving the best practice and the service to parents. And I have brought a lot of best practices from wherever I have gone to train, and whatever I have seen them practicing, we've tried to implement it, customize it here for Sri Lanka and the group of people or the clientele, and provide a service in early childhood.
Now tell us a bit about your role as a drama teacher and a resident lecturer.
Yeah, so drama teacher was a really fun thing to do, and I was the drama teacher for the infant school and the primary section of Colombo International School. And we had lots of fun drama productions. It was very challenging because every production had about 100+ kids almost, because it was a policy. There was a policy in the school where they said that every child must be given an opportunity to participate in the smallest of roles in that particular production. So it was challenging but very inspiring. And we pulled it off most of the time, the entire team, because I was the person who directed the drama, but then there was the backstage crew, then the music production team, the entire team. Working as a team was something that was inculcated very strongly in me at Colombo International School, because it was always a collective effort. So that actually gave me a lot of edge to take on strides that I wouldn't have taken right now, what I'm taking in doing what I would say, giving leadership to the team that I have now.
Okay. Now, regardless of what sector you're in, it may be the service industry, it may be corporate, you always know more about the industry whilst you're working in it.
Yes.
You know the issues that happen and what you can do to change things. When it comes to being an educator, tell me a bit about your concerns.
There are lots of concerns, Prashant, if we talk about right now. And one of the concerns is maintaining good standard and principles in early childhood education. That is something that I am working towards to establish, and giving leadership and also maintaining the really a proper standard for early childhood education. Because if you are an early childhood educationist and if you are having your own preschool, sometimes the standards can be compromised. But when it comes to kids, we don't have compromise. We cannot compromise because they are in that age, 3 to 6. That's the period that we have them in the school. And maintaining good standards, best practices, and providing the most hands-on educational program in today's context is vital for their future. So that is a big concern that we have, and we are working towards contributing effectively to bring about a standard and a model where all children get equal opportunities in education.
Okay. Now, previously I mentioned that the role of education has a lot to do with you as a person, because that is your foundation.
Yeah.
Now, when we speak about early childhood education, that is the foundation of foundations.
Yes,
that is where you begin.
Exactly.
So, let's speak about the importance really of early childhood education.
Yeah, so I would talk about the first 6 years as the most important years in the life of a human being. So it categorizes, we go through a span of 24 years, and we have blocks of ages where different developmental levels occur in children. So the first 6 years, as you said, is the foundation of foundations. So if we don't get this foundation right, we could be having delays on the other end, then issues on the other end, behavioral issues on the other end, emotional issues on the other end. So this whole holistic approach in a preschool setting or a Montessori setting has to be highlighted and practiced all of the time. So at Nature's Classroom, we consider this holistic approach is very necessary, where physical, emotional, cognitive, social and spiritual or moral education is inculcated and imparted to kids at an early age at their level. So every activity that we do is brought up to their level. So it's not something that they cannot approach, it's not too challenging, but we do challenge their intellect all of the time, that their critical thinking, problem solving skills, all these happen before the age of 6. So it is so important for us to be aware that these first 6 years are the most critical ages in the life of a human being, and if you set that platform correct, you would have a very balanced individual on the other end.
Right. Now, this is mainly done through an institution or a Montessori, a kindergarten, but how important is the home setting for people, the family background, and how the parents really interact with their children?
Very good question, Prashant, and thank you so much for asking that question, because between the child, the school and the parent stands on the other, on either side. So it's not the school, or it is not only the school or only the parents. So we actually take a journey when they come to school at the age of 3. Both parents and the school and the child, we all have to take a journey. And in this journey, it is always a place where cooperativeness, all of this must happen. And most importantly, the parents must be aware of the level of understanding the kids may have. Most parents in Sri Lanka, they are very sensitive. The age is sensitive. There is no question about it.
Yeah.
So we need to be very objective in terms of handling kids. There are times that you have to rule with the heart. There are times that you have to rule with your head when you're dealing with kids. So this is something that the parents need to balance. This is what I see most of the time. We have lots of conversation with parents in the school. Over the years, I have worked for 30 plus years now in the same industry. And I've met so many parents with different mindsets that we have to sit and fine tune and speak through dialogue. We change a lot of practices that they practice to the benefit of the kid. So it's always important that the parents' involvement is critical in the life of a child, like the school. So together when we take this journey, I always tell my parents at NCR, I said, you have a kid, we train them and we put them on the race track before they are 6 years old, and they run on their track. That's what we do. We just guide them. It's not that we are forcing them. We are not doing anything like that. We just take the moments that they love to learn, and when we fine tune it and we give them the right opportunity and the right environment, they learn on their own. It's just that we need to provide the right environment for them, for one thing, and on the other end, parents also need to provide the right environment where love, discipline, all of these things contribute to the well-being of the adult that they are making. So unfortunately, we are writing the life of their story. And then on the other end, we had to wait till 24 years to see what we have written. That's something that you don't see. So only you see shades of it happening in adolescence, shades of it happening in pre-adolescence at 6 to 9, and then at 24 you see the adult that we have actually made or we have inspired to be emerging, and that's not a time that you can actually change things.
Exactly.
So the first 6 years, I would say, is very critical. Pay attention, be sensitive to the needs of a kid.
And in your opinion, at which age do you feel like things really cannot be changed any further, or you feel like, okay, this is the time where I've done all I can do and now it's up to the kid to go?
If we objectively, consciously sow well into the life of kids in those 5 categories that I spoke about, physical, emotional, cognitive, social and moral. Most parents think that, oh, they will learn later, after 6 years. But 80% of the brain is developed before the age of 6. So that's more than 50%. So we need to be conscious of that, and we need to sow well into the lives of kids. Most importantly, self-concept, confidence, knowing that they can do something, the development of independence, and the fact that they have an identity. All those things are so critical before the age of 6. We can't keep it for a later date, because whatever we have sown is what we will reap at the other end. That's the reality of everything, right?
Yeah.
So because of that, I would suggest to parents to sow well, sow love, sow joy, sow happiness, sow all of those things, instead of, kids are so focused on social media. Young kids are exposed to a lot of smartphones and screen time. We have lots of children who have adverse reactions to all of those, and those are not reversible. Those are not reversible, Prashant. So we have a hard time reversing those damages that have been caused through all of those things, those mediums. And I would say parents must be more conscious today, in today's context, because there's so much of technological advancement. And it is good to have technological advancement, but we need to choose wisely when to give, when not to give. I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm not saying smartphones are not bad. None of that. But choose wisely. First 6 years, I would suggest to parents that they should actually inculcate reality in children.
Okay, that's great advice. And as the founder and director of Nature's Classroom Montessori, tell us a bit about your future plans.
We're planning actually to move towards the rural areas, to be more of a service to them, because that's where my heart is actually, even though I'm in Colombo. I love going outstation and training teachers out there and being with them and listening to their stories and doing whatever we can to help them, to empower them to do their best with kids, because across the board, kids are kids. They deserve a fair chance to get their education at a proper standard.
Okay, and you addressed some of the concerns as an educator, but diving a little deep into that topic, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the issues and malpractices you see in early childhood education in Sri Lanka?
I would say hiring, number one. Hiring is a problem, because I think in Sri Lanka, lots of people, we have got used to doing fast track courses, and in early childhood education you can't do a fast track course because there's so much to learn about a child, and if you don't know how to handle a child, there is a very, very big risk of mishandling a child and getting kids not wanting to come to school. They will lose the interest completely of school. We can do that. So hiring is something very, very important. In Nature's Classroom, we have a very strict hiring process where we do medicals, where we do police reports, where we go through the grammar saver, all of those things. Once we have established that this person has got their qualifications plus all the other things, other requirements, then we will consider employing. Otherwise, it's the life of a child. So there is no space for error. When it comes to a teacher, Prashant, I always believe that there is no space for error. So we have to be very concerned about hiring. Then maintaining good standards, good hygiene. And you need to have a good leadership and a management that you're working for. So those are critical areas that I would consider. But overall, I would say we need to look at the standard of early childhood education and give it a consideration to do something better than that for kids across the board.
Great. Thank you so much for all that information and wonderful advice. That was Preneetha Zelnie Tissera, the founder and director of Nature's Classroom Montessori Teacher Training Center. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Prashant, for having me.
And that winds up today's episode of Business Today. Do join us next week as well. Till then, have a good night.